All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the April RDLA webinar. I'm going to give folks just a second to get logged on, and then we will get started. All right. We've got a pretty good group here, so let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Again, welcome to the April RDLA webinar. This webinar is going to be focused on National Minority Health Month. So this month is the observance is designed to raise awareness about the importance of improving health of racial and ethnic minority communities and reducing health disparities. So this webinar is going to focus on current federal legislation aimed at improving these health disparities for minority communities. So to just go over a few housekeeping items, if you have any questions as we go through the webinar, feel free to click on the Q&A button and you can enter your question there and we will make sure that the appropriate speaker sees your question. And a reminder for any media that may be joining us, we ask that you formally announce your participation and refrain from quoting any of the discussion during the webinar. We encourage you to instead follow up with participants afterwards for direct quotes. Closed captioning is available on this webinar. All you need to do is click the live transcript button at the very bottom of your screen. We also have Spanish translation services available. You can click the link that Shannon is going to send in the chat to access that translation as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Joining us today, we have Jennifer Dexter from the National Health Council, Micah Burbanks-Ivy from the Rare Disease Diversity Coalition, and Megan McCauley from the Office of Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina. So Jennifer, I'm going to go ahead and kick things over to you to discuss the implementation of the DEPICT Act.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. I really appreciate it. It's always shocking. It's a new headshot, so it kind of pops up and I go, thank you so much. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jennifer Dexter. I'm the Vice President for Policy at the National Health Council. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the National Health Council, you can go to the next slide, Caitlin. I wanted to give you a quick overview of who we are and what we do. We were created by and for patient organizations more than 100 years ago. The NHC really brings together diverse organizations to forge consensus and drive patient-centered health policy. We promote increased access to affordable, high-value, sustainable healthcare. We're very proud to have many of the folks sponsoring this call and many others that I'm sure are represented on the call as part of membership. This is just a sampling of some of our patient advocacy group memberships. We have more than 170 national health-related organizations in membership and businesses. Our core membership are these nation-leading patient organizations on your screen now. Other members include health-related associations and nonprofit organizations, including the provider, research, and family caregiving communities. And finally, we also have business representing biopharmaceutical, device, diagnostic, generic drug, and payer organizations. But as I always say, the patient groups are given the loudest voice in our membership. The majority of the people on our board and kind of really are the leaders in our community and always are the leaders in creating our positions. The NHC is fully committed to mobilizing our members to advance health equity from the patient perspective and has historically engaged in lots of health equity advocacy through much of the work that we do in our members, including issues related to medical research, such as patient engagement and clinical trial design. The COVID-19 pandemic and the national dialogue on equity and race, particularly that emerged in 2020, strengthened our resolve to focus on more coordinated, mission-focused approach to our health equity work. We undertook an 18-month-long process to identify where equity gaps existed in the health ecosystem that patient advocacy groups have the most stake in and capacity to address. Through engagement with leaders in the health and other sectors, we found consensus on defining the problems and areas of prioritization, reflected on the recommendations that were made, and issued a report titled Access, Affordability, and Quality, a patient-focused blueprint for real health equity. And these are public policy recommendations around health equity. And the 4 key areas are equitable access to health insurance coverage, access to care, that's everything that happens to you once you walk into the hospital or the clinic or the doctor's office. Equity and in medical innovation, and that's primarily focused on a lot of patient engagement in medication development and looking at diversity of clinical trials, which is what I'm going to talk about a little bit more today. The final area was partnering with groups that are leading in social drivers of health, like housing, transportation, education, things like that. Okay, so as I mentioned, under the medical innovation slot, there was a high priority put on increasing the diversity of clinical trials. And so, as many people were, we were seeing a lot of activity in the last three, 4 years looking at that. And one of the areas has been how do we work to get processes and programs in place that increase the diversity in clinical trials. One of the things that was driving that is something called the DEPICT Act. The DEPICT Act is a piece of legislation that was introduced in 2022, I believe, and requires that FDA applicants have to report who and what the demographics were of people that were in a clinical trial, set goals for what the diversity of the clinical trial is going to look like, and then provide a rationale for how they arrived at those figures. What that would take, form that would take, would be something called a diversity action plan with each application that they made. So it'd have to detail all of the actions that the sponsor is going to take, things like engagement strategies. Who are they working with out in the communities? Who are the trusted partners that they're working with to recruit people? How are they getting messages out to marginalized communities? Things like that. It gives the FDA the authority to mandate post-market studies when sponsors fail to meet their enrollment and they don't provide a sufficient justification. So it's not a cut and dry, you didn't meet your numbers, so you're going to get, more oversight. If you say we did these things, we made our best effort, we tried, and it is a reasonable effort, they may not step in. The transparency part of it's really important, making sure that FDA is issuing data around what the progress towards meeting these diversity and clinical trial goals are. And then one of the things that FDA does a lot is do education for sponsors, for people who are submitting drugs for review. And so looking at creating a workshop to help sponsors figure out how to use the flexibilities, the different approaches and best practices to help increase diversity. And then some funding through NIH and the Community Development Center, community health centers, to increase their capacity to be good partners in reaching out to communities, bringing people into the community. So you want to go to the next slide, Caitlin? So this is a really important piece of legislation, but what's the status of it? Where are we right now? It's frankly somewhat murky is the words I will use. In the spring of 2022, FDA issued proposed guidance for industry that would require certain applicants to submit the diversity action plans with their application and create a way to monitor and track the makeup of the trial populations. It doesn't have some of the other provisions that are in DEPICT, but that was the guidance they put forward. We commented on this proposed guidance and suggested a lot more patient engagement in developing the diversity action plans, asking for more details around what activities were undertaken to overcome those barriers to participation. And we also thought it might be great to add, track the demographics of the research team as part of this plan. So those are some of the comments that we made. The final guidance has not been released, primarily, I believe, because there was significant congressional progress on actually moving forward with codifying the process and going a little further than the guidance had even suggested through DEPICT and other efforts like those of Senator Scott, that we were also very, very engaged with. So all that kind of 2022 activity resulted in action at the end of 2022. Congress gave the FDA new authority to require diversity action plans for certain clinical studies. The section of the law grants the FDA the authority to require those plans for all drugs and medical devices. It also directed the FDA to update or issue guidance on diversity action plans. The guidance was due by the end of December 2023. That deadline has unfortunately passed without us seeing the guidance. However, they did do an update in January of some guidance on the collection of race and ethnicity data. So there was a little bit of progress there. So that is kind of where we are. We are waiting to see what will happen. We are very pleased that this is in law now, but concerned about the delay that is happening. So let's get to the next slide. So what's next? So for those of you on the call, I think, it's a little frustrating when things like this take a little while. I am still hopeful that we'll see that release of that guidance. And we need to continue to push for the implementation, both with Congress and with the administration. One of the things that is coming up, if they don't get that out soon enough, we are getting close to elections. Things may turn over. We may have to go back to a starting line. So we want to make sure we get this done as quickly and as completely as possible. So that talking point is just really important, making sure that Megan and her colleagues are just continuously, I know Megan is, but aware that this is still out there and still happening, and they can do lots of things to help put a little pressure on. The other part of this, which I think is very important, is just being ready for when the guidance does come out and the real work begins on developing these diversity action plans, partnering with manufacturers and sponsors to help from the very beginning, from the front end, doing outreach, doing engagement, helping them partner to find new people, design trials that will work. I think it's getting a lot better, but we still have significant issues that are barriers to engagement with clinical trials, like having to travel to sites, not having support for transportation or time off work, or the ability to use remote devices to monitor your blood pressure and temperature and things like that. So a lot of us are going to have to, this is probably going to be one of those things that's going to pop up suddenly and everybody's going to need to scramble to respond to. So just thinking through and being ready to prepare for that. So that's kind of DEPICT and where we are with that. I know there's a lot of other activity happening that my other folks are going to speak about. Happy to see any questions. I couldn't see the chat while I was talking. So if there's anything I need to address, just let me know, Caitlin.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I'm not seeing any questions yet in the chat or Q&A, but for those of you who are watching, if you do have questions for Jennifer, please go ahead and insert those. One quick question that was just put in the chat is, Jennifer, how is diversity defined in this bill?
I have to go find it exactly, but it is inclusive of beyond race and ethnicity. So things like gender, disability status, things like that. I come from a disability rights background, so I think that I always am kind of on the lookout for that. But it is very inclusive of a broad definition of diversity. So sex and gender identity, race and ethnicity, disability status are all kind of inclusive in there.
Great, thank you. And like I said, if anyone else has any other questions related to the DEPICT Act, go ahead and insert those questions into the Q&A. And thank you, Jennifer, so much for this presentation and providing us with this update.
Anytime.
Awesome. I am going to go ahead and turn things over to Micah Burbanks-Avi with the Rare Disease Diversity Coalition. Micah is here to speak about the Health Equity Innovation Act with you all. So Micah, I will turn things over to you.
Thank you, Caitlin. As Caitlin mentioned, my name is Micah Burbank-Sivey. I've been working with the RDDC coalition for the past about year and a half. And I'm also an attorney at Holland and Knight. So to talk a little bit about the RDDC, first off, for folks who may not have heard of us, RDDC was launched in 2020 by the Black Women's Health Imperative, specifically to address the extraordinary challenges faced by underserved populations with rare diseases. The coalition has over 100 partners and brings together rare disease experts, health and diversity advocates, and industry leaders to identify and advocate for evidence-based solutions to alleviate a lot of the challenges that patients with a rare disease have faced in receiving quality care. Part of our efforts are in the policy field, where we engage on a wide range of federal policy, but specifically today, we are going to talk about the Health Equity and Innovation Act. The act was introduced in September 14th of 2023 by Congresswomen Nikema Williams and Yvette Clarke. And so it was introduced to establish the Health Equity Innovation Grant Program, which would award faith-based and community organizations located in medically underserved areas grants to really work with the community to provide care, be it from assisting community members for affording medical services, supporting community health efforts. And this was really a result of a lot of the action done specifically by Black churches during the COVID-19 pandemic, where many churches in medically underserved areas developed programs to provide testing. So Congress thought that, to continue those efforts and really honor that community engagement, the Health Equity Innovation Grant Program should be created. Unfortunately, since then, since the introduction into 2023, the act hasn't moved out of the Energy and Commerce Committee. It currently has a total of 9 co-sponsors, one of the most recent co-sponsors being Representative Alma Adams, who co-sponsored it actually this month. So it's still on the board. When we think about perhaps the outlook of this, I think a continued advocacy is helpful. I think in talking to some representatives from faith-based and community-based organizations that would benefit from this, they view the $50 million a year grant to be quite helpful in actually engaging with communities. But so continual advocacy on this is something that's needed, especially as we're going toward the election season. We're going to see it. We will typically see a calming of legislative action. So just to put this on the radar, and also, moving into the 119th Congress, this will likely need to be reintroduced. So that's something that RDDC is personally looking at, and I know a lot of other partners in the rare disease community are looking at this. So if there's any questions, we'd love to talk more about it. But that's everything I had to present.
Great, thank you, Micah. One quick question is, can you share if and how the diverse congressional caucuses have interacted with this piece of legislation?
So, I mean, it's in Congress, they have been supportive. If you look at a lot of the co-sponsors, they're from the Congressional Black Caucus. And, if we analyze, specifically the sponsors versus the wider congressional community, I think that this, although it was originally made as a response, specifically looking at Black churches. I think this is also something that could benefit other communities as well, thinking about generally the Tri-Caucus. So in moving, in thinking about ways to continually advocate for this, I think that other communities should also be engaged with. I'm not entirely sure of the scope of who actually has been or hasn't been talked to. That's something I want to follow up with the sponsors of this. But I think this, community-based grant programs and really activating community members to participate in health programs is something that is ultimately beneficial across all groups.
Great, thank you. And someone's also asking in the chat if you could share the website for the Rare Disease Diversity Coalition.
Okay, I can put that into the chat if that'll be.
Beautiful, thank you.
It's rarediseasediversity.org, but I will put it in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us to go over this piece of legislation and share with advocates how they can continue to push for it with their members of Congress. Great. So I am going to go ahead and turn things over to Megan McCauley. Megan is joining us from the office of Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina. And Megan is going to be talking a little bit about a sickle cell bill that
Hey y'all, my name is Megan. I work on all things health for Senator Tim Scott. Happy Minority Health Month. In addition to working on the sickle cell treatment demonstration program bill that I'll talk about in a minute, another thing that we're working on with Senator Cardin is the National Minority Health Month resolution that we're really hoping will pass the Senate next week. So really, my boss is a big supporter of Minority Health Month, and we also are introducing another bill next week. So really excited to talk about my boss's sickle cell bill. He's been interested in sickle cell for a while because of personal reasons, but then also it's a big problem back in South Carolina as well. So what S 1852 does is it reauthorizes the sickle cell treatment demonstration program within the Health Resources and Services Administration. There's around 11,000 people throughout the US that are able to get treatment for sickle cell through this program. It's a hub and spoke model. So there's 5 hubs, and then there's regional spokes throughout the country that talk with those hubs on the best practices for sickle cell treatment. And this program, my boss worked on this back in 2018. We basically are just reauthorizing this program that he worked on in 2018 and was signed into law. We're really excited about the fact that this passed overwhelmingly out of the Senate Help Committee back in June of last year. It also passed overwhelmingly out of Energy and Commerce for the House bill, and we're working to get this across the finish line as soon as possible. In the Senate, the way that we're trying to pass the bill is through unanimous consent. So every senator agrees that it will pass. We currently have one senator that's holding it, but we're really hoping to drop that hold next week or the week after. We're trying to use Minority Health Month as a way to hopefully have this bill pass, and we'll definitely send any updates on passing as soon as we have more information. I'm supposed to have some more conversations with the Senate office that's holding it later this week. So really excited about that prospect. And yeah, 2 of the main things that we did do in this, or 3 main things that we did in this reauthorization is we updated the authorization of appropriations. So last time this program was authorized, and the name of the bill is, it's the Sickle Cell Treatment or Sickle Cell Disease and Other Heritable Blood Disorders Research, Surveillance, Prevention and Treatment Act. I usually just say S 1852, our bill number, because the title is kind of long, and it is that reason because that was the name of the title back in 2018 when we worked on this. But the 3 main changes that we made were the authorization of appropriations. So we updated it to what it's currently been funded at, which is 8.205 million. The last reauthorization was 4.45. Another thing that we did with this bill is making sure that HRSA has the maximum flexibility needed for the treatment demonstration program with 2 gene therapies that have been approved for sickle cell. We're so excited about that. My boss has been obsessed with CRISPR for some time, so we're really excited about the fact that those are coming to the market. but we wanted to make sure that the treatment demonstration program has a maximum flexibility to possibly use these gene therapies in the treatment demonstration program. So we allowed HRSA to have flexibility to have a grant contract or cooperative agreement instead of just grant, which I think is what it was before. Another thing we did is we know that obviously there are not ways to prevent sickle cell, so we wanted to make sure that it's prevention of complications. So we added that throughout the bill. But we're really excited about the possibility of this getting done soon. We're really, really working to get this across the finish line in both the House and the Senate. I've been in constant conversations with different stakeholders and others trying to make sure that this is able to get done as soon as possible. But definitely let me know if y'all have any questions, and really appreciate y'all asking me to speak on this panel today.
Great. Thank you so much, Megan, for sharing with us how you guys are working on this bill and where you're at right now. We do have a question for you in the chat. Someone has asked, sickle cell disease is the most common and prominent rare disease in the world, but the knowledge in the Black community is limited. Or have you all had a strategy with educating the population?
That's a really great question. That's another reason why we really love the treatment demonstration program, is it also provides resources to physicians to talk about sickle cell disease. And we definitely are trying to think about other ways to provide more education. And I think one of the ways too is us talking about sickle cell, and especially my boss tries to highlight some of the things that are going on in the sickle cell community. In the US, especially when it comes to gene therapies. That's one thing that my boss loves. We've been trying to do press on recently, especially MUSC, the Medical University of South Carolina, has been doing some clinical trials for gene therapies. And we've just been trying to use my boss's platform and his interest in sickle cell disease to talk about it. And another thing we do is we lead the sickle cell disease awareness month resolution in September to all, and we also message on the importance of sickle cell disease research and education throughout that month.
Great. And can you give advocates who are watching and want to get more involved in this bill or want their member of Congress to co-sponsor this bill, can you give them some tips on how to do that?
Yes, definitely would love additional co-sponsors. So our House leads are Congressman Danny Davis and Michael Burgess. They've done an amazing job over on the House side. And yeah, we're working with them to try and figure out when we can get this bill on the House floor and hopefully pass under suspension at some point in time. So definitely feel free to contact me if you need their contact info. And then I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, we work on this with Senator Booker. So if you contact me or Nadia with Senator Booker's office, definitely happy to help out however we can.
Great. Thank you so much, Megan. I'm going to make sure we don't have any additional questions here. Does not look like it. So thank you so much for taking the time to come share.
Of course. Thank y'all so much.
And thank you to all of our speakers today for joining us for this webinar. Lots of important bills discussed. If you have any additional questions on the bills that were discussed and you would like to have any of the panelists' contact information to learn more, feel free to reach out to me and I can provide you with that as well. To wrap up the webinar, I'm going to go over a couple of upcoming opportunities for engagement. But before I do that, I'm going to be sure to have you save the date for the next RDLA webinar. It is going to be held on May 23rd. And then a couple of different opportunities for engagement coming up here. We have our Youth and Teen Advocacy Day. This is hosted by RDLA for advocates ages 10 to 18. Those young adults and kids will go through training on how to meet with your members of Congress. We will go over different bills for them to discuss with their members of Congress, and then they will all go on their own to meet with their members virtually on June 18th. Registration for this event is going to open on April 29th, so save that date. And if you know any young adult rare disease advocates, encourage them to sign up. This is our second Youth and Teen Advocacy Day, so they're very excited. We also have Rare Across America coming up very soon. Registration for Rare Across America is going to open on May 13th, and then meetings with members of Congress will run from August 5th to 16th. So if Rare Across America is new to you, this event is an opportunity to meet with your members of Congress at their in-state and district offices. So as part of Rare Across America, you can meet with your senators virtually, as well as meet with your representative in person at their in-district office. So this is a great way to meet with your members of Congress without having to come all the way to DC. And we will provide all of the same trainings that we do for Rare Disease Week. So you'll receive a training on how to share your story. You'll receive trainings on each of the Ask, how to meet with your members of Congress. So you'll have everything that you need going into those meetings. Another great opportunity coming up is our mentorship program. We are now facilitating an advocacy mentorship program that lasts a year long. So we have folks apply to be a mentee. So if you're interested in having a mentor, this is for you. So we have folks apply to be a mentee, and then we will match you with an experienced rare disease advocate that we feel is going to be the best fit for you and your advocacy goals. And the mentors and mentees are going to be offered basic guidances. You will be required to meet with your mentor at least 5 times throughout the year to establish your advocacy goals and work towards those together. The deadline to apply is tomorrow. So if you are interested in this, I encourage you to check this out, get your application in today. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me as well. I'm happy to get all of your questions answered regarding this program or any of the others we've discussed. And then of course, last but not least, we also have an upcoming state advocacy webinar. And this webinar is going to be next Monday, April 29th, and it's going to focus on non-traditional methods of advocacy. So if you are someone who is interested in getting more involved in state advocacy, or you want to learn non-traditional methods to be involved in advocacy, this is the webinar for you. I encourage you to check this out and get registered. If you go to rareadvocates.org, you'll be able to register on our state advocacy hub. And then of course, if you're not signed up for our newsletter, we encourage you to sign up at rareadvocates.org. This newsletter has federal policy updates, state policy updates, free resources, and free events for the rare disease community. So this is your one-stop shop to what is going on and how to get involved. We also, of course, have action alerts and more information on upcoming events on our website as well. And if you have any questions about the topics or the events that have been discussed, feel free to reach out to myself. My name is Caitlin Laws and my email is here. And then of course, you're also welcome to reach out to Senior Director of Advocacy, Shannon Von Felden. Last but not least, we want to give a thank you to our April RDLA webinar sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors for making this webinar possible. And one last thank you to our speakers for taking the time to join us and share more information about each of these bills. I'm just going to check one more time to make sure we don't have any questions. All right, no lingering questions. All right, guys. Well, this is a quick webinar this month. Thank you guys all for being here, and we will see you in May.